Okay, everyone, welcome to Finnair flight, well, I can't remember, 34 Romeo I've called myself. We've just flown from Innsbruck to Rovaniemi to go to see the snow. It's winter time, so it's about time everyone went to see Santa, so we're off to, Rovaniemi. Weather in Rovaniemi is not ideal. We've got light winds at the moment, which isn't bad, but it's actually contributing to one of the bigger problems, which is the fog. So if we look at the META here, we've got wind 2804, perfectly fine. Visibility is 1500 meters, which is not that long. It's half the length of the runway. Becoming fog, overcast at 200 feet. And we've got a temperature of -8, a dew point of -9, so we're 1 degree away from our dew point. The QNH is 982, so very low pressure, and ref sub, don't know what that means. Looking at here, we've got becoming tempo 7,000 meters, visibility broken 600, and then we've got broken 300. So it's basically it's going to be low visibility procedures. As you can see, there's a bit of a cloud over here. Just coming below 10,000 feet now, entering a kind of downwind leg for runway 21 at Rovaniemi. We're flying with Finnair, and I'm just going to switch on those landing lights once we get below 250 knots, so we don't want to break the landing lights off. Seatbelt signs are already on, nav and logos on, wing lights will be on in a second. I've just turned GS mode off. I know you probably should keep it on for an ILS approach, but unfortunately it gives you a bad call out on very short final when you need your GPWS to be working. Airborne time thus far is 2 hours 56 minutes since we started rolling. And yeah, there we go, there's 250 knots, the landing lights can come on. I'm going to turn the speed brake off now. So we've planned for a Category 2 ILS approach, which is a very nice one, so I've just got Navigraph charts here. So I'm just going to hide. Actually, one cool feature that I will say has made it into the real life that wasn't in the beta. We go to Open Airport, we've got General, runways, so we can see there's our wind, that's fine, that was always in there. Information about the runway, slope and such like that. Weather, got the META, we've got the TAF, which is the forecast, so this is literally tells you when. So we're currently IFR, then it's going to be light IFR, mixed marginal VFR, low IFR, IFR, marginal VFR, so it's not going to be good weather until tomorrow. Communications, this is all of the actual real frequencies. This is real life frequencies, by the way. These might not coincide with VATSIM, and we've got real life no tabs, which is cool. So this is obviously this is all publicly available because it has to be. You don't want to be a real pilot and not have this information available for free. But it's just awesome that it's been integrated. So we've got EGNOS not available for LPV and LNAV or VNAV. That's probably some waypoint. Expires on the 5th of February, so it's 6 days of activity. Trigger NOTAM, permanent AIRAC ARP amendment, change of ATS email, changes to instrument procedures, changes to standard arrival route marks, so changes to waypoints and fixes introduction of IFR reporting point INMUF. The NDB is unserviceable. Intersection takeoff is forbidden, and fuel 100 low lead, card automatic. So basically there's a card machine where you pay. Contact telephone number is given there, and that is probably the person you will actually have to call if you want to fill up 100 low lead if you fly to Rovaniemi. So let's just not look at that number for too long. Anyway, it's very cool. So charts wise, just going to get the airport out of the way. I just thought that would show that cool feature there. So we're currently inbound Econom now, VECIP and then NIPAC, so we've not used any of the waypoints that are non-serviceable. So we're just starting our descent now after our deceleration phase. We're looking at ILS Zulu localizer runway 21. We're going to be coming in via VECIP at 2,500, 2,500 and then. So I'm actually going to say let's just make a continuous descent approach to 2,400 at Inza. And yeah, the aircraft is planned. As you can see, if we look on our display, we've actually got INSAR 2400 is exactly when we'll finish our descent, so that's perfect. Localizer GSL, so these are our radio altimeters and cross-check altitudes. We've got a minimum safe of 24, so that's what we're using. These are all our frequencies. Missed approach, climb straight ahead to Ropov and through 2,500 feet and then enter holding. It looks like it's going to be a teardrop entry, so you come in here, you go around. Teardrop, or is that parallel? Oh, there's one or the other. Anyway, so there's our glide path. It's 3-degree glide path, coming probably 700 650 feet per minute. We've got high ALS 2 and PAPI lighting on the left hand side of the runway, 2,500 feet if we have a missed approach, direct drop off, so there's a very kind of brief description of it. Circle to land is not going to be necessary. Category 2 radio altitude 124, and the decision height is actually lower. So the reason for that is there's obviously some sort of an obstacle during the final approach, so we use a different radio altimeter setting to get the right minimums, basically. And that is very much true of Rovaniemi. It's got quite a sloped runway. There's, I think, a upward slope from this end, and it kind of goes up and down, so we'll definitely see that when we come into land. Hopefully we'll see it. If we don't see it, it'll be a Category 2 ILS approach. It's not going to be full auto land, but we'll definitely be making a late disconnection of the autopilot. I may well engage the second ILS just to see what the second autopilot just to see what happens. Let's get LS up. So there we go. We're identified 111.7 and 205 degrees. Let's just cross check that there. 204 here, so just 205 in there maybe. Maybe the chart's a day old or something like that. So that's fine. So the chart's slightly out of date. It's just gonna see that away now. I believe approach mode may well have engaged itself. Here we go. Approach mode is already engaged, so we're just dropping below 220 knots now. Taking on to our base leg, 5,400 feet. There's the glide path coming up. I'm going to put the nose and runway turn-off lights on so that when we lower the gear, we're minimum workload. So I don't need to think about turning those on as well after I've already lowered the gear. So on our base leg now, I'm going to set flaps 1 and bring us down to about 180 knots. Altimeter's no longer standard, so this is where we're going to kind of mess around and set 982, so it's a very low pressure. There we go. That's an altitude horn because we just dropped below our altitude a bit. So we're significantly below profile now. 200 knots, got 10.1 miles to go. So yeah, we'll start thinking about lowering the gear. We've got 200 knots now, that's fine. Ground spoilers are on, we've got auto brake set to low due to contamination on the surface. It's likely to have snow on it and ice. There's no runway condition report in the METAR, that's probably because the airport's been closed for a while. I can imagine, since they're about an hour or two ahead of Innsbruck, and Innsbruck's already 11 PM, so it's about 1 o'clock in the morning now, local time. So there we go, below 180 knots, 9 miles, let's set flaps 2. And you can see now we're entering the fog. 8.5 miles to go, we're on a Category 3 approach, we want to be stabilised. Gears coming down. Sounds good. Gear down 3 greens, flaps 3. There are 6 miles to go, let's set flaps 4, get fully configured. And I'm going to arm approach. Lock and GS. Established. Rovaniemi traffic, Finnair 3-4 Romeo, fully established ILS 2-1, 6 miles, Category 2. This is what we can currently see. 2,500 Rokov's already tuned, all lights on, signs on, pro piece on, anti-ice not necessary, it's too cold, and gear down 3 greens, auto brake low, speed brakes armed, flaps full, configured and stable. 4 miles to go. This is a proper ILS approach basically. So hopefully we will get a sight of the runway. We're expecting to have clouds down to 300 feet above airport level, so we might well be very close to our minimums before we see anything. And in fact that's why I've planned Category 2. I'm actually going to go for bunk, dual. Okay, so I can kind of see some lights on the clouds ahead. That'll be the city, just behind the airport. You can see there's like a lighter area here. There's going to be some light pollution poking up. Very good lighting effects. Got 3 miles to go, so we should be about 900 feet above airport level, which is 600, 700 feet. So yeah, we're looking about right. 1,000 feet. Okay, I've got the ground in sight very, very, very minorly, just out the left-hand window there. This is slightly disconcerting. Snow. We're not going to put the K runways in sight. I'm not yet fully happy with it, although I'm going to expect some wind to do some crazy things as we go below 1,000 feet.
500.
I'm happy. Ron happy.
400. 300. 100 above. 200. Minimum.
Continue.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. 5.
Touchdown. Reverse green. Decel. Ground speed's below 60, reverses out. We'll let auto brake continue as it's got anti-skid. Okay, below 30 knots manual braking. Spoilers up. Gentle braking, and we're going to try and vacate left here. Now it's snow, so we're going to go slowly. 15 knots or less around the corner. Okay, that's runway vacated. That's because I right clicked while I was trying to do something. Strobes auto, start APU and bleed online. Now Flight Simulator has had an update today, actually. I think it was today anyway. They fixed the taxiways and runways being completely snowed in. So, for example, this is now the new texture that they've been using. Basically, this is heavy snow in the real world. And we've basically, that area there somehow managed to keep the snow off it. That's again due to that darkness thing. The runway as well, I'm still using Xenotech because I find they keep it a little bit cleaner. But basically it means you can still see the runway underneath the snow rather than being completely blank. It's helped in places like St. Johann. You still have a nice layer of snow on the runway though, so the textures have changed. It's no longer submerged. It's basically just like it's been scraped and it's snowed on top a little bit more. But yeah, no, it's not as bad as it used to be. Still not perfect, but I'd say it's a significant improvement, and it's definitely more representative of, you know, those countries where they don't immediately plough the runways as soon as there's any inches of snow on it. Parking brake set. APU's available. Beacon light off, strobes off. Okay, landing rate was 158 feet per minute, 1.05 G, so in terms of that was pretty on point. Just after the touchdown zone, so just after the aiming point marker, well within the touchdown zone before taxiway Delta. Just looking at the Volanta map here. So yeah, that was a full-on instrument approach to runway 21 at Rovaniemi with a late visibility of the runway, but within minimums by a fair amount. We had the runway in sight, and that can be as much as the first approach light. As long as you keep them in sight, you're in sight of the runway. So Innsbruck, for example, there's a bunny light system that bounces all the way out to the train station, which is about a 4-mile final. So yeah, that's how they deal with that problem, because it's a relatively high minimum, but if you've got that bunny light system in sight and you know the other checkpoints that you need to be making, you can still make the approach even when the weather is below minimums almost. It's not quite below minimums, but you know what I mean. We can get away with things. Fourth person to arrive today. Statistics then, 3 hours 13 minutes block time, 1,309 nautical miles. We burnt 6.8 tonnes of fuel, 117 passengers on board, landing rate 157 at 125 knots. And yeah, there we go. Welcome to Finland. Okay, that's disconcerting, Finnair. I'm not going to be able to find Santa's grotto in this fog. But there is a, yeah, the scenery has developed. Wait, is that it there? Yeah, that's it. Santa's grotto. Yes, there's a little Santa's village over there next to the airport, tourist attraction. But honestly, I think if you want to go there, you'd be riding reindeers, and well, not riding them, but going on those rides with reindeers, all sorts of things. It's amazing. Very similar to Scotland, actually, and the Cairngorms. Definitely give the Cairngorm reindeer herd a visit. It's fantastic. There you go. Enjoyed.